of the disease. The general goal that's been working is in Alzheimer's disease, here's, I hate to say, you know what age this is. So, I'm with you on all of that, but you know, if you keep working and you keep thinking, hopefully, and you have some good genes, perhaps, then what you try to do is with treatment, move it up a little bit. So that means that the prevalence will shift up too. That's the general goal that people want to aim for, is just moving this, because if you moved it up to like age 130 or 150, how good it would be. That's the goal. So if anybody has other questions, it's a large field. I can answer a lot of the experimental and some of the clinical. I don't see live patients, so, but I think our clinicians do, and the way this is supported, and we've just gotten another 5 years of funding for this, and so we're really glad to be continuing. I might say there are other aspects to it that contribute. Sometimes these patients have mixed picture. They may have Alzheimer's, they may have vascular disease too, and together that is not easy for the patient or to contend with. And there's standardized diagnoses that I use and have to use that are fed into the full database. This is a large database in the whole country that's using this. And the imaging is important. The biomarkers are also funded by the NIH, and I think NIMH and the Neurologic Institute also has money, but it's mainly NIA, which is the poorest funded of all the institutes. But we really depend. There is funding also from Alzheimer's. There are various private groups that it's just a drop in the bucket compared to NIH, really. So funding is really important. It's like funding Mongolia College too. And so if anyone has questions, a number of you have come up to me and discussed things with me. I'll try to answer as best as I can.
When is it time to go in for our test? Early detection?
When the patient, the earliest is when they have the MR, they have the earliest stage, which is they do the neuropsych testing on it, and it's when the patient starts, that's where neurologists will help you better than me, but when the patient starts having problems with, I've showed you the parietal lobe is involved, they get lost, they have problems balancing their checkbook, the frontal lobe is involved, that's for that type of function. So if you can't balance your checkbook and the money's there, then you have a problem. You should see a clinical neurologist at a major center. I don't know where each of you lives, but there are centers all over the country, mostly in major cities like Boston. Johns Hopkins is involved, Harvard's involved, USC. There's 25 or 30 of them. So they all. No, I don't know them specifically. Yes, I don't know about them and how they work. But I'd have to look at the whole list of centers to know,
I think we could take just a couple more questions, but we should stay on time here, so.
Okay.
Just take a couple more.
What's physically involved in testing? What do you undergo?
You mean when they're being evaluated?
Yes, when you walk in for testing, you unbalance your checkbook.
No, what they do is they do, depending, they do a neurological exam, and they want to rule out other things that can cause dementia on that. And that would be like thyroid, there are other diseases that could be.
Well, what are they physically doing to you?
They take blood, they do blood samples.
Well, it's not invasive anymore.
Not at that point. I mean, if you're gonna have, your CSF removed, then they have to go into your spinal area. The imaging is not, any way, touching you or anything. You should go into an MRI. The other thing is, they do the neuropsych testing. That's very important, and they can actually figure what part of the brain. I showed you the regions, the functional regions of the brain, and there are tests that can test each of these. For example, the speech. And I want to tell you one other thing. Vision later becomes involved. When we discovered that and published that in the New England Journal of Medicine 20 years ago, and that may be a way, because the retina is the extension of the brain, and there are those plaques and tangles in retina. So I don't know if that's going to become an easy test or not, but there are others that are working on that. But so they do a neurologic exam. They do if they do the neuropsych testing, and if those show anything, then they I'm not sure which comes first. I don't handle that, but they would want to do the CSF and do testing with the tau markers, and that is given intravenously, I believe, and they can see that light up on the imaging. That's what's available now. That A beta to spinal fluid changes.
You can't see her, but Liz over
I
here.
just wanted to ask if you could say anything about medications that have been developed.
All right, there's no perfect medication, and nothing that quite reverses the disease. The first medication that was about 20 years ago, and I don't know all the names of them because I'm not involved with the pharmacology of it, but there was the thought that acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter, those cells that generate that were involved in the disease, so they started to try to modify those cells. It turns out there are a number of different cells, different neurons with different neurospecificity for it, not just the acetylcholine. So that isn't going to change things. And they couldn't give for a while that medication. I can't remember, someone told me they knew about that one. They could not, that had liver toxicity. There was only a narrow therapeutic range that was safe. And it doesn't probably, that helps. What it does it changes the slope over here. And what it does, it makes the slope, it goes this way, but it goes down over a year or two. And it doesn't really solve the problem. If it slows it down, like we would like to do here, pushing this over, that's what you want to do. And I'm not a neuropharmacologist, but they have some that do help, but nothing that's going to be long or it slows the course. That's right here. This is it. That's the course delay. Yeah.
Is it just because we have so many people living longer that we see so much Alzheimer's and
Sure, it
dementia?
adds to it.
Or could there be other reasons that is happening? Because obviously, your research is young, and why haven't we had research on this before? And it's mostly because we didn't see so much.
Well,
So
because we didn't have the techniques. These techniques only came through the last 2 or 3 years that I'm showing you here.
we
And
just
we're
sort of
developing
expected
them.
older people to get dementia.
Well, they go to a good center they have a lot of clinical trials at these centers. And they try a lot of things. There is no perfect one shot. This is multigenic, multifactorial. But I think everything additively will help, but I don't think it'll be a single one shot that's going to stop it. That I tell you.
You're gonna need to cut us off here, 'cause it's 4 o'clock.